All right, let's talk about norovirus. But we're not just going to talk about a bug that makes you sick. Oh no. We are opening the case file on one of the most brilliant escape artists in the natural world. Think of it as a master of biological espionage. So, let's dive right into the briefing. And this is the central mystery, right? Our bodies are basically fortresses built up over millennia with these incredibly sophisticated defense systems. So how in the world does this tiny little agent consistently pull off the perfect biological heist? Well, that's the mission for today, to break down its methods. And here it is, our agent, norovirus. You know, on the surface, it looks pretty simple, almost unassuming. But don't let that fool you. Its entire existence is built around one single, ruthlessly effective mission. Get in, make a ton of copies, and get out before the authorities even know what hit them. And the target of this whole operation? It's one of the most secure facilities on the planet, the human body. Seriously, think of it like a fortress, patrolled 24/7 by a highly trained elite immune system. The stakes for any intruder are incredibly high. So, every great heist starts with a clever way in, right? You don't just kick down the door. Let's take a look at how norovirus bypasses that first layer of security and gets past the front door. The virus's first move is just brilliant. It uses a stolen keycard. See, it doesn't force its way in. It tricks the system. This keycard is its uncanny ability to interact with something called histo blood group antigens, or HBGAs, which are all over the surface of our cells. You can think of these HBGAs as these really complex biological locks on the cell's surface. And through just generations of evolution, norovirus has basically forged the perfect key. So when it docks with an HBGA, the cell doesn't see a threat. Instead, it just recognizes a familiar signal and, well, it grants access, willingly letting the intruder right inside. But wait, it's got another trick up its sleeve for getting in. Camouflage. The virus can actually bind with some of the friendly bacteria that already live in our gut, our commensal microbiota. By cloaking itself among these trusted residents, it can just move right through the system, totally hidden in plain sight. It's kind of like a spy putting on the uniform of the local guards. Nobody suspects a thing. Okay, so the agent is inside the building, but now it's facing its biggest threat yet, the internal security system, which has an incredible memory. To survive this, norovirus has to become a true master of disguise. Our adaptive immune system is absolutely brilliant. Once it sees a threat, it essentially creates a wanted poster, and it never forgets that face. So if the same bad guy tries to get in again, it gets neutralized almost immediately. Norovirus knows this, so its solution is simple but effective. Never look the same way twice. So how does it pull this off? Well, it all comes down to constant, rapid mutation. The virus is always spinning up new versions of itself, creating this incredible genetic diversity. And we're not talking about a complete costume change here. It's much more subtle than that. It makes these tiny, strategic tweaks to the amino acids on its outer shell. Think of it as a spy changing a mustache or putting on a pair of glasses. It's just enough to make that wanted poster totally useless and fool the guards all over again. And all of this builds into a full-blown toolkit of disguises. You've got the high genetic diversity and the rapid mutation rates we just talked about, plus those really specific amino acid changes. But then there's this other fascinating tactic, the subtle breathing of its viral capsid. What this means is its outer shell isn't totally rigid. It's flexible. It can subtly change shape, which momentarily hides the very parts our immune system is trained to recognize. It is an incredible set of tools for always staying one step ahead. So, once it's inside and fully in disguise, the virus moves to the final, critical phase of its mission, sabotage. It needs to set up a base of operations and completely disable the security network from the inside out. The very first thing it does is build itself a safe house. It literally hijacks the cell's internal machinery and forces a complete membrane rearrangement, creating these specialized compartments. These are basically hidden replication factories, totally shielded from the cell's internal defenses, where it can get to work completely undisturbed. And it's from this new secret headquarters that the virus launches its full-on sabotage campaign. It now has the resources, and just as importantly, the cover it needs to systematically take down the cell's entire alarm system. Its number one target is the cell's emergency broadcast system, which is known as the interferon response.
See, when a cell gets infected, it's supposed to release these things called interferons to warn all the neighboring cells and call in the immune system's heavy hitters. Norovirus's goal? It's simple. Cut those alarm wires before the signal can ever get out.
So how does it actually pull off this silence? It's basically a three-step process. First, the infected cell detects the intruder and sounds the alarm. It releases the interferons. But the virus is ready for this. It's already working to block the crucial downstream signaling pathways, like one called STAT1. By doing this, the warning signal is stopped dead in its tracks. The message is never delivered, and the immune system's cavalry, it never arrives because it never even knew there was a fight to begin with. But just cutting the alarms isn't enough. The virus also has to destroy the evidence. And it does this by messing with something called antigen presentation. An infected cell is supposed to take little pieces of the virus and display them on its surface. It's like holding up evidence for the immune patrols to see. Norovirus sabotages this whole process. It is the biological equivalent of wiping the security tapes, making sure there is absolutely no proof of its presence for the immune system to find. So when you put all of that together, the picture becomes crystal clear. Through clever infiltration, constant disguise, and just systematic sabotage of our cellular defenses, norovirus proves itself to be one of nature's most accomplished agents. Its success isn't some accident. It's truly a masterclass in evasion. And that leaves us with a really critical question for the future, doesn't it? Studying this virus is a lot like studying the tactics of a master criminal. So the real question for virologists and immunologists becomes, when you're up against an agent this sophisticated,